Thank you. Good morning, my spiritual family.
Good morning.
So happy to see all of you. Can you see my t-shirt? It says, "I got this," signed God. Yes, so I will be speaking today about how God solves all seeming problems through prayer. I'll be speaking about Oponopono. It's a Hawaiian system for health, wealth, peace, and more. So, how many of you are familiar with the term Oponopono and have heard about it? Oh, just a few. Oh, I'm happy. I didn't want you all to already know. Well, my story begins over 30 years ago in a Hawaiian mental health clinic for the criminally insane. The inmates there had committed murder. They had either already been charged and were criminally insane, or they were there to be evaluated to see whether they could be sane enough to stand trial. The place was bleak. It was decaying. It was terrifying. It was repulsive. The paint wouldn't even stick to the walls. The inmates were shackled. They never went outside. There was a fight every day, either between an inmate and another inmate or an inmate and a staff member. The staff members were afraid. They would walk in the halls with their backs against the wall when a criminal, even shackled, would walk down the hall for fear of their lives. There was a shortage of staff because they would rather take a lot of sick leave or play sick than show up for work because it was dangerous. Well, one day, this clinical psychologist, Dr. Stanley Hugh Lynn, appeared. And the nurses went, "Here we go again. This man who thinks he can fix everybody. New solutions to these problems. He'll be gone in a month because he'll be scared to death with all the dangerous activity here." Well, not so. This gentleman came to work each morning happy. Hi, talked to the staff. He actually came in late every morning. He was nonchalant. He was relaxed. Then he'd go and sit in his office and on occasion would ask for an inmate's file. And on occasion, the staff would ask, "What are you doing? You're just sitting here." He said, "I'm practicing Oponopono, a belief that transforms your life." He said, "Wait and see, watch." And a few weeks later, somebody brought paint and they painted and it stuck. Somebody else started gardening in the garden and plants grew. And somebody else fixed the tennis court. And the inmates became less irritated, and they didn't have to be shackled anymore. And they were allowed to go outside. And at some point, the inmates started playing tennis with the staff. And the staff were happy to be there. There was more staff than they needed now. Everybody was happy. Soon, inmates were released after 4 years of Dr. Hugh Lynn being there. The facility had so few inmates, they moved them to another facility and they closed this one permanently. Now you say, how did he do this? How did he do this? Sitting at his desk, looking at a file. Well, he practiced the philosophy of Ho'oponopono. This philosophy is the belief that everything in your life, you're 100% responsible. Every person, every relationship, your money, your job. Doesn't mean he committed those crimes, that he was responsible for that. No, he was responsible for the belief up here that said these people are bad, evil, wrong. And that's what Ho'oponopono heals. Every thought you have creates your reality. If you change this thought, you create a whole new world. And that's what he did, practicing 4 simple steps. So I will share those steps with you, but first I want to say it's a prayer practice. It's 4 steps. But you don't pray to that person. You might be angry at somebody. No, this is between you and God. This is about you, healing you so your world can change. This is not about trying to change Mary Jo and Bobby and make somebody give you this car you want. No, it's about changing your thought process. 1 in Ho'oponopono. Very simple. I love you. Well, first let me give you an example of what this prayer is going to pray for, to heal. I'll give you an example in my life. Some of you may know the story. I inherited a mobile home in November when the person I was caregiving for passed away. I immediately put it on the market because the space rent is so expensive. The home's paid for, but I pay $1,400 a month in space rent. And it goes up 5% compounded every year. That's $66 a month more starting in July. That's $800 a year on a fixed income. And it goes up 5% more next year. That's $70 a month over the 66. Can you hear me getting a little riled up? And people in my community are getting to the level of the rent that I'm at. And they're outraged at themselves for signing the lease, but they're also outraged at the fact that a landlord would charge that much to seniors and not change the rule. Well, so my prayer is about the landlord because I have fallen into the consciousness of this story. It's a pretty good story. I mean, I've got proof, don't I? I get my bill every month. She must be mean, wicked, money greedy, money hungry. She doesn't care about the seniors in the community. That's the story that's going to be healed. So the first step is, I love you. But it's, I love you, God. Well, right now, because I've been talking about the landlord and this story, I don't feel too much in love. So the way I get in love is I say, God is the great in my Tony the Tiger cereal. And God's a juice in my juicy fruit gum. Well, I guess you can tell I like sweets, but I can do better. God's the chocolate in brownies. Oh, but the best. God is the chocolate in that Costco chocolate cake. Have you tried it? Oh, I love God. Oh, God, I love you. Now I'm in that energy, a high consciousness energy. The second step is I'm sorry. It's not to that landlord, it's to God. I'm sorry, God. I'm sorry that I ever believed she was mean, angry, and a greedy person and didn't care about us. She's a loving child of God. I fell into that consciousness. I'm so sorry. I forgot that there's only one power, and that's God, and God's good. There is no power in evil. She's not evil. It's all God. It's all good. There's something wonderful about this woman, Susan, and I'm sorry I fell into that consciousness. And we all do this. We're human. We fall into that mass consciousness belief. Step 3, please forgive me. Again, it's not to the other person, it's to God. God, please forgive me for having a blonde moment. I did it again. I fell into mass consciousness. Please forgive me for forgetting Susan is just like me. She's my sister. We are all one. She's a loving child of God. She's doing business. She learned business this way. This is the truth. And she's probably pretty hurt. Her little 6-year-old girl's probably really hurt because a lot of the people in my community have really made her wrong and hurt her feelings. So please forgive me for having that blonde moment and that falling into that mass consciousness that's not the truth. There's only one truth, and that's God, and God is love. Step 4, please, is thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, for Susan. Thank you, God, for me waking up and realizing the truth. Now, Susan really is a gift. And because this shirt says, I got this, God's got this all handled, not in the way I would think. Susan's a gift because it woke enough of us up in our community to organize a group and to go to City Hall and start paperwork for being advocates for seniors being respected and having affordable housing. And we went 2 weeks ago. I spoke, one of 4 that spoke out of 10 of us that went. City Hall was shocked. And they called us the next day and planned a meeting this last Wednesday with our board to support us to get affordable housing in El Cajon. Now that's a miracle. God did it. All I'm doing is changing my thinking about the landowner. Has nothing to do with her. It's my healing that transforms my whole world. This prayer work requires detachment, being an observer, not hooked into the angst and the anger, being a conscious observer. Carl Jung, if you will put the next screen up, says, "He who looks outside dreams. He who looks inside awakens." Your assignment, if you would so choose to take it this week, is to practice the 4 steps of Oponopono. I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And to make it a ritual for transformation in your whole life, health, wealth, peace, relationships, abundance. Because what does God say about this? Join me. He says, I got this. Thank you.